Hello everybody, Sam'sTrains here, welcome back to the railway. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all ready for another live stream. Yeah, it's been a nice week for me, but I'm glad it's Friday, let's put it that way. So I've got you all on the chat, so as always, feel free to get in touch on there if you'd like to. It's going to be quite a busy episode this week, there's an awful lot to talk about. I suppose the main thing is going to be the 14XX, and my goodness me, hasn't that been controversial. Yes, an awful lot to talk about with this model, but I'm going to do a little bit more of that later on. Lots of stuff to talk about, to be honest. I've got quite an exciting announcement as well, which I'm going to talk about towards the end. I'm not going to do that straight away. But if that's something you're interested in, and I'm not going to give any clues, but if that's something you're interested in, stick around and you'll hear all about that. Second of all, I've had quite a bad cold all week. Literally, as soon as last week's stream ended, I started to feel a little bit unwell, and then from Saturday I'd had a cold. I had hoped that it would completely clear up by this stream, but it's still, I think my voice sounds a bit strange, but you know, I've been doing sort of vocal exercises and drinking lots of water, so hopefully it's not too bad. But if my voice does irritate you at any point today, I do apologise. So as I said, yeah, the bulk of this video is going to be an unboxing, and I don't know how that's going to go, to be honest, because I've never done a live unboxing, and normally it takes me, you know, all morning just to film a review and then another afternoon to edit it. So yes, to do it all, to edit it live and do it live is going to be quite a challenge, but I'm going to try and do it. But anyway, there's something more important to talk about first, and that is of course last week's super chats. So I'm going to thank all of last week's super chats, of course. So thank you so much to Jake Darling, Steamer the Steam Train, Michael Aldred, the Ugly Duckman, and Redshirt 214. And Michael Aldred, bless him, has just sent another £5. So thank you so much. That really is kind of you. Now, before I get started, I better show one of the requests I got last week. In fact, I better just give the plug for the super chats now. So basically what the super chats is, it's a little $sign down in the chat. Oh, it's that side. I never remember what side it is. You can only get it on PC, but basically it allows you to donate money to the channel, to me basically, to help keep the channel going. And if the channel is something you like and you want to see it, you know, carry on into the future, then that's absolutely something that you can do if you want to. Though of course, please don't feel you have to, and obviously if you're underage, you need to get permission first. Depends how much you donate, but if you donate any amount whatsoever, I'll give you a massive shout out on the stream if I see it. But if you donate £5 or more, or that equivalent, in the country where you are, I will show you, well, you get the chance to choose your very own request and show it live on the show. So that's fantastic, and I've got one of those to show. In fact, let me take you there and show it. Now, last week it was Steamer the Steam Train. He made quite an indirect request, and I wasn't too sure what he meant, but he's cleared that up with me. And basically his idea was a beaching idea. Now you all know about beaching. He closed lots of the real railways back towards the end of Steam, I think it was. I don't know too much about it. And this apparently is a beaching idea. So he asked for the green IVAT 2MT with 2 BR Mark 1 chocolate and cream corridor coaches and a brake. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that done straight away. So here you are. Was it Steamer the Steam Train? Thank you very much for your support. That really is, you know, generous of you, of course. So let's get her started. We'll just do a quick run with her. And of course this is quite an old-fashioned model. It's an old Hornby one, just after they became Hornby and not trying anymore, I suppose. Oh, got to wave. So there she goes. Quite a nice little steady runner, that one. She really, really is. And let's take a look at the church. As you can see, we've got one of the engines that's going to feature in the running session just there. Of course, the 14XX, and in fact that was another indirect request from the Ugly Duckman. He wanted to see Oliver with the what was it, with the auto coaches. Well, unfortunately I haven't got any auto coaches, so no, I've got auto coaches, I'm sorry. I haven't got Oliver, so I had to show just a regular 14XX, but that's going to be running later on, so hopefully you'll see that and enjoy it. But now we've got the I don't know what to call it, the Beaching Express, shall we? Just coming up Gordon's Hill now, as I'll call it. Just waiting for it to appear. Come on, there it is. A lovely model, actually. They always run so nicely, and I have to admit, it does look nice, doesn't it, with those chocolate and cream coaches. There we go, flying up Gordon's Hill without a problem, as you can tell. And here it comes under the bookcase. Look, the new router's still there. It's still working good. I do like that new router. It's really, really been better. Especially this week with the old Steam sales. It's come into its own, I can tell you. Alright, one last lap. Where shall I leave the camera? Now, I haven't actually got the camera set up at the front right now, so unfortunately you're not going to see it stop. But I've headed down to the front, so I'm ready to stop it now. So it's just disappearing out of shot. You're going to have just a second where you're not seeing anything, unfortunately. But I'll be right back. So there we go. Thank you very much for that request. That was a very sort of in-depth request. There was sort of deep meaning behind it, so I thought that was very cool. So thank you for that. That was Steamer the Steam Train and the Ugly Duckman. Yes, I don't have Oliver, but I'm going to show the 14XX with auto coaches, and this video is all about the 14XX, which is of course what Oliver was based on. So hopefully this video will be okay, and I have mentioned the name Oliver. So anyway, let's talk about this then, because I did briefly mention this 14XX in last week's episode, and in fact the original plan had been to talk about this and do this unboxing during last week's episode, but I didn't get it, and we'll talk about that. But I thought I'd better just clear this up. This video is, well, this stream is going to be a little bit critical, okay? There are some problems with this model, and a lot of you know them, and a lot of you might not, but there are problems with this, and you know, it might seem like today in this video I'm going to be doing a little bit of Hornby bashing, and some of you might come away from it thinking, oh, why does he hate Hornby so much? So I thought I'd better clear that up to start with. The truth is, I really absolutely don't hate Hornby. I love Hornby, and in fact they are, it sounds a little bit cheesy, but they are my livelihood. My whole business, my unboxings rely heavily on Hornby. My maintenance service relies heavily on Hornby. I would say most of the engines that come in to my little servicing business are Hornby engines. So Hornby is massively important to me. So it probably annoys me more than it does anybody else when Hornby, you know, produce engines and they make decisions which are bad for their company, make them look bad, and you know, effectively move them that little bit closer to closing down and not being a company anymore. So it really, you know, it upsets me, that does, and so I suppose that's why I'm a little bit more critical, you know, because I love them. I don't want to see them, you know, go to an early demise. Secondly, like I said, I'm gonna be critical, but I'm gonna try to be as objective as possible. Now, of course, that's difficult because I have a massive investment in Hornby, not financial investment, but you know, mental investment. I invest a lot of time and energy and effort into Hornby, so I'm gonna try not to be as biased. I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible. But of course, you know, some of it is going to be in my opinion, but if I say that something is absolutely true, I'm going to be backing it up with facts. And please, if I say something that I haven't backed up with facts or anything like that, please pull me up on it either in the chat or in the comments, because I want to be as accurate as possible. But yes, as I say, this has been a very controversial release, and I'm going to talk about it today. Obviously, it's a lot to talk about just one tiny railroad engine for an hour, but actually this loco sort of starts conversations about maybe the industry in general. I don't want to get too deep, but yeah, maybe it does. So this story started last week. It was supposed to be here by last week, but it wasn't. And the reason it wasn't, I did mention this last week, is that Rails of Sheffield got them. They got a big batch of them. Presumably they bought loads of them to sell on to us customers. And they didn't dispatch them to us customers as they would normally, because they found a serious problem. Now, I think it was Luke Wilcox from SDJR7F88 that actually told me what this problem was. Rails of Sheffield just said it was a pickup problem, but Callum told me that it was actually the rear pickups on the back wheel were sticking out below the wheel and basically derailing the engine on points, presumably. So apparently that was the problem, but Rails of Sheffield sent them all back to Hornby to get them repaired, and then just this week, was it Monday or something like that, I got the engine, and that issue wasn't there, but there were lots of other issues. I think I'm going to talk about the other issues later on when it's out and when I can show you them, but yeah, we'll talk about the problems later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox this. It's been out of the box already, of course. This isn't the first time it's been out, and I thought I would sort of adhere to my traditions and go and do it on the floor where I always do. So I've put my front camera down on the ground where I always do it. So I'm going to unbox it for you, and hopefully it should be interesting. Now, I'm going to be away from the chat for a second, so feel free to keep chatting amongst yourselves, but it's probably not going to have me in it for a little while, but it will be soon. So let's get this done then. Let's get this out, the 14XX. I'm going to try and do a traditional unboxing in my style, but obviously it's just taking an engine out of the box, so we won't do this for too long. Oh, in fact, before I do though, I better read you the end of the box. So this one is R3589 GWR042T, which stands for tank, of course, class 14XX 4837, and there it is. camera's probably not going to focus on that, but not to worry. Now, one thing that I must say is really good is, look, we don't have a polystyrene package anymore. It's actually in the block of ice. So that is an amazing feature, I think. It really does protect the loco. And if you're someone who likes to stick to the positive sides of a model, then cling on to that, because there ain't many more, I've got to tell you that. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the instructions. So this is the manual for the Collet Class 14XX. Of course, it was designed by Collet. And just notice here, I don't know if you're going to see it, it does say in bold DCC ready, and then it says contact your dealer for advice. Now in truth there isn't a DCC socket inside the loco, and to me that looks like it says yep, DCC ready, but I don't know if it means that. It might mean that's the heading and then underneath it says contact your dealer, but it isn't DCC ready. And I thought the instructions were saying it was, but you know, I'm not too sure. So here it is, and it is in the Great Western livery, and I believe the other two I've got a Hornby and an Airfix one. I believe both of those are actually in the BR livery. So this is the only one I've got in Great Western, which is why I bought it. But as you can see, I don't know how close I can go. Is that out of focus? As you can see, it's a fairly nice looking model. It seems to be solid enough, and you know, it is in that Great Western livery, as I've said, so that is a big plus for me. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history on the engine, because I always do that in reviews, and if anybody's interested, I'm also going to give you a little bit of history on the actual models themselves, because that model that I've just unboxed, it didn't start off as a Hornby model. It's actually been owned by other manufacturers, and it was developed a really long time ago. So here's a little bit of history then on the class, and hope you like. So the 14XX was originally known as the 4800 class, and it was introduced in 1932 to the Great Western Railway to the design of Charles Collet. Despite being often called a Collet design though, the design supposedly dates back much further than that, to the 1860s, to a similar class designed by George Armstrong. A total of 75 of the class were built over 4 years, and they were eventually reclassified to the 14XX when some of the 2800 class were experimentally converted for oil firing. These oil-fired versions were classified the 4800 class instead, so of course the 14XXs, as they're called now, couldn't keep the name. The 14XX was designed specifically for hauling auto coaches, although they never really were too successful, and they were eventually scrapped from 1956. 4 have been preserved though, and the rest sadly were scrapped. In model form, the first ready-to-run 14XX was produced by Airfix, and I'm not 100% sure of the date, but I estimate that it's around the 1980s, or possibly even the late 1970s at the latest. This model was highly detailed for the time, but it was never too successful due to several running issues. In 1997, many years later, Hornby re-released the model under their brand name, and although the body tooling was kept pretty much exactly the same, the chassis was considerably re-engineered to run on a standard Hornby motor with a sprung rear axle and traditional wiper pickups, and this allowed the model to run much more effectively. So here we are in 2017 with the latest release of the model, this time in the railroad range of course, kept very much the same in terms of detail, but once again the chassis has been changed, this time with some very heavy downgrades, and I'll discuss some of those later. Okay, so here we are on the white background, and I have to admit this section might be a little bit, I won't say naff, but it might not be up to the usual standards because, of course, I can't sort of cut to close-ups on it because it's just one camera, and if I wanted to do that, I'd need loads of cameras. But I don't think I can go a lot closer than this. If I bring it closer, does it go out of focus? I think it does. Is that in focus? Yeah, no, not really. So anyway, let's take a look, shall we, at some of the details on this. And I'm going to be brief because obviously you can't look at them all massively well. But I am going to be looking at the chat, so if you've got any thoughts on the detail and such, I'm going to be asking you guys about them in just a second. So get thinking with what you might be able to say. And for now, let's take a look. So like I said, it's in the Great Western livery, which quite conveniently, I suppose, for a cheaper railroad model, it doesn't have an awful lot of lining. So you can see the boiler here is quite plain. There's not a lot on there. But of course, you've got the GWR text on the side of the tanks there, which is nice. And of course the running number, which is on the just on the cab front there. Now if I turn this round to face you, which might be a bit messy, You can see that there is space for a running number on the front of the smoke box there, but I believe that was only the case during the BR era, so that looks a little bit strange without a number on there. But you have got a number down here on the buffer beam, of course. And on the subject of the buffer beam, we haven't got sprung buffers. The buffers are sort of quite static, as you can tell. Apart from that, there's a fair bit of separately fitted detail. Not a great deal, but I suppose a fair amount. You've got the handrail just towards the smoke box here. The chimney is actually separately fitted because you have to remove it if you want to take the loco body off, which I have done many times this week, which is quite interesting in itself. And then, of course, you've got the whistles here and safety valves, which appear to be separately fitted. And I dare say, the safety valves are even made of metal, which is quite nice. You haven't got any, I don't think there's any cab detail to speak of, but at least it is a sort of physical cab. There is a space inside there, so if you really wanted to, there might be something you could do in terms of detailing inside there if you wanted. If I flip it round, I don't know why I'm flipping it round. No, it's on both sides. There is a separately fitted pipe, which is quite nice, and this was again from the original Airfix version, and it goes along the whole length of the thing. It's a little bit flimsy. In fact, I've had to glue it already because it wasn't best. Well, because you have to mess about with it to get the body off, so you know it's naturally going to come off, I suppose. But it's back on now, and if I just turn it round again to show you the back, very briefly, you can see it's got the usual, what you'd expect really on the railroad models. You have got the vacuum pipes fitted already though, which is really nice to see. You haven't got to do that. And I suppose some people enjoy doing that, but I don't, so it's fine by me. Again, same buffers, which are metal, and it's nice. And you've also got coal in the bunker, which is, you know, it's okay. And I do quite like the grill effect, which is done in just the plastic work on the back of the cab. Again, you can't see it too great because we're so far away. But otherwise, you haven't got any glazing in the windows. The windows are blank. I must say as well, the couplings are not NEM, which is a little bit odd for a modern engine. You'd expect them all to be NEM these days, but instead you've got sort of like a proprietary coupling, is that the right word? Which is the same type that Airfix used. It's the little clip, and some of the Hornby Railroad rolling stock, I believe, has that as well. So I won't waffle on anymore because, again, it's not great that I can't show you close-ups, and I'm just putting the coupling back on this thing now. So let me know what you think about this in terms of detail, and then we'll get on to the big thing, which is performance, of course. And there's quite a lot to talk about with the performance. So Vlog That Train 31 says, are the vacuum pipes painted? And the answer is, the front one, yes. And the back one, yes. Yes, we have painted vacuum pipes, which I don't suppose happens all that much with railroad models. So again, detail is pretty good. It's just about as good as it was on previous versions of the model, except of course it hasn't got the lining, which is fair enough. It must be prototypical to the livery, I suppose. A good question is, how much does this loco cost? Now this one on the Hornby's website, the RRP is £45, which is quite cheap for a model, but I think for a railroad toy, it's still quite a lot of money for something this size, considering that you can get a Ginty for £25. You can get it a little bit cheaper on Rails of Sheffield, although I wouldn't recommend buying it at all. In fact, I think it's a miracle that Hornby haven't recalled these entirely, and I would say maybe that's something they should have done. But as it stands, Rails of Sheffield at least are still selling them, and I think they were charging a little bit less. It was more like it was just less than £40, including postage. Let's see, what's your favourite part of the loco, Samantha, says Mark Horner. My favourite part of the loco, I don't know. I think it's probably, it's ironic because it's terrible with this, but I actually like the wheel configuration, 042. I think that is a really, really unusual wheel configuration, and I think that's why I like them, because it makes the loco's form factor very, very unusual. That's what I like about it. But it's a quality build, and that's quite good. So Trains I Like says, I think it's very high quality for a railroad model. I would agree. I would say the bodywork on this is quality. It is quality. It hasn't fallen apart. There's not that many separately fitted parts which are going to drop off it. But I must say the chassis leaves a lot to be desired, but I'll talk about that shortly. So question, do Bachmann trains normally stutter when they start running? It depends on the engine, Jacob. Some of them do, but normally once you've gotten the run in, they should get better. But some of the Thomas ones do, actually, when I first unpacked them. But they do tend to get better. Cab detail, says Rowan Collins. I'll double check. No, the cab detail is 0. It's just totally Most of it is taken up with the mechanism. The back of the motor is in the cab, but yeah, there's no cab detail to speak of and no glazing, except of course, as I said, you won't see it, but the backs of the windows there have that grille effect, which is original to the Airfix design, which is nice. I like that. Hornby have put the much worse detail-wise, possibly better running-wise, Ginty up to the same price, says D Nash. Okay. Well, to be fair, the £25 I quoted for the Ginty was on eBay. I don't think you can get this one for £25 on eBay yet. Is the GWR lettering slightly off-centre, says Matthew Harris. It doesn't look like it's slanted, but it looks, I don't know. No, if you consider this to be the tank, I suppose, but yeah, it's hard to tell from where I'm sitting. I wouldn't say it's a massive issue, but if you're someone who wants to model seriously, then I don't suppose you'd be buying this for £45. But yeah, for me, certainly it looks okay, but I'm no expert. How does it run on your layout and where did you get it from? Said GWR 5764 Pania. It doesn't work at all well on my layout, is the answer to that, as you're going to see shortly, and I bought it from Rails of Sheffield. So with that then, let's move on to performance. I'm going to show you one that's also going to be running, and that one is, where is it? You've seen it already. It's this one, and that is in fact the Airfix version. It's the original Airfix version, and try as I might, I couldn't find a date for that. So if anybody knows specifically when the Airfix 14XX was produced, do let me know. Like I said in the info section, I guessed that it was 80s. Maybe the 70s at the very earliest, but I would generally guess that it was a 1980s model, and I suppose they would have created the auto coach at roughly the same time. But yeah, okay, let's have a look at the performance then, and again, this is going to be a significant portion of the video, so I've moved the camera down to the front, and it's not particularly well framed, is it? So I'll fix that. Okay, so as I mentioned during the info section, Hornby have released this model before. It's not a new release from Hornby. It has been released under the Hornby brand before. So, in fact, I've also reviewed that. So I'm going to bring in the older Hornby version, and this is the one that I unboxed from the train pack with the 14XX coaches. 14XX coaches? No, the auto coaches. There you go. So here it comes. It's coming into shot, hopefully quite soon. And as you can see, with real ease, it is pulling, let me move my legs, it's pulling 6 Great Western coaches. Let me move out of the way. As you can see there, it's pulling 6 Great Western coaches, which is an awful lot for an 042, I think you'd agree. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to untangle myself from the mic wire because it's gotten all tangled somehow. There we go. So I'm going to bring it back into shot. So this is not the new Hornby model, by the way. This is not the railroad one. It's the same model. It's the same tooling, except it's got a different chassis. Hornby's railroad version has got a new chassis. So that's the old one. As you can see, it works very nicely. And I'm now going to put the new railroad 14XX onto the track, and I think I'll put it just in front of the coaches and coupled to them. So let's do that. Nothing wrong with the slow speed performance, as you can see, quite nice. But then when we give it some juice, up to half speed, terrible wheel slip. See if we can help it. Oh, it's just getting going. As you can see, it's just pulling them off. So let's see what happens around the layout. Now, well, let me show you first of all. So there it goes. Let's move on to the next camera. Here it comes up Gordon's Hill, and oh, it's still going. Oh no, there we go, it's stopped. So much worse pulling power. So let's go back to the front, and in fact what I found was when I first got it out of the box and tested it, and as far as I know this is still true, it could pull 2 coaches as far as the top of Gordon's Hill, and then it would stop. It wouldn't be able to get any further than that. And in fact the total number of coaches it could manage all the way around the layout was a grand total of 1 coach, which is pretty bad, and I'm having to help it reverse back into shot. Yeah, it can manage 2 coaches for the most part, but there's a very slight gradient on my layout towards Gordon's Hill, as you know. It's at half speed now, it can't manage it. And that kills it. If it's got more than 1 coach, it kills it. So as you can see, just behind here, I've got 1 coach for it to pull, which we'll do later on. Come on, blimey, it's a struggle. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the problem is, because there's actually several really sort of nasty design flaws with this. So let's take a look. I'm going to come back to the front. I've got the Hornby 14XX from a few years ago and the new Hornby Railroad 14XX. So I'm going to talk about these right now, just getting myself back to the front. So here we go. And you can tell the difference between the two because the older Hornby one has got the BR livery. So as you can see just there, that's the BR crest. So you can tell that's the BR one. And basically what this one has, as you can see, it's exactly the same. It looks the same from the outside, except this back wheel, if you look, put my finger on it. Can you see this? If I push it, you can see quite clearly that it moves down, right? So you can see that it's sprung, and when I let go, it pushes back up. Now, a key difference with this one is that if I push on this wheel, it's absolutely fixed, right? Now, when you sit this down onto the track, and we'll pretend that this is the track here, as you can see, it sits down. And the fact that this rear wheel here is able to spring means that the two driving wheels sit down on the track, and the weight of the loco is taken by the driving wheels, and the track will just push up this rear axle, and the driving wheels can take the weight. Now, Hornby on this new one have taken away that feature so that now when it sits down on the track, this rear axle takes off all the weight. Well, it takes a lot of the weight, and in fact I showed a photo on Twitter, which I don't think I've got on the stream, but check out my Facebook or Twitter pages. You can see I've got a picture of a gap right underneath this driving wheel to prove that it isn't actually touching the track. And here's where it gets crazy. That wheel is the one with traction tyres. There's a traction tyre there and a traction tyre there, and they do not touch the track while this runs. My example doesn't, and that's because this rear wheel isn't sprung. And the only wheels that do touch the track are these front ones, and those don't have traction tyres. So you've effectively got a 022 locomotive, which was never a good design in real life. There were very few locos to have that design in real life, and certainly it's not a good idea, a model form either, because it can only manage one coach. So yeah, that really isn't great. I'm just going to find my iPad because oh, here it is. I want to see what you guys are saying. Now, that isn't all, okay? That's not all. But I want to point out that it's a bit strange that Hornby have this design. You know, they've got it designed like this, and the Airfix one wasn't as good as this. The Airfix one didn't have the sprung rear axle. So they've got this design, they've redesigned it in the past, and yet for some reason they've redesigned it again to be no good. So I don't understand that. But the other thing I discovered about this one, which really made me cross when I took it apart, in fact, let me show you. I'll see if anyone can figure out, you know, what is the problem here. So this is the engine. I took the base plate off and took the wheels out, and look, can you see here? These are the bearings that the wheels sit into, and they are square bearings. Can you believe that? Even the Hornby Ginty, which is cheaper, has got turned metal bearings in, and that makes it so smooth to run. But look, these bearings are square, and look at the ones at the back here. Look, they're even shoddier. The ones at the back are sort of all warped and stuff, and I don't know if that might be the reason. You see, that might be the reason why we've got this problem, if it's all warped and such. So that really sort of cheesed me off a little bit. Can you believe that? Square bearings, and they're just metal. It's just the metal chassis. That is not going to last very long. Of course you want circular ones. It's like if you've got a circular bearing like this, you've got the circular axle which rotates inside the bearing like this, and you get minimal wear. If you've got a square bearing, I don't know how, you know, it's just going to wear out, isn't it? I can't believe it. It's ridiculous. So I thought, you know, there's some serious design flaws here, and Hornby have known about them because this model didn't have those flaws. This original 14XX from Hornby was a very good runner in my opinion, and as you can see, it can haul 6 coaches. So I sent them an email. I said, what's going on? You know, it's quite a lot of money to spend on a loco which doesn't work at all. So I'll show you the emails I sent. I do have emails. Let me just find them. That's the bearings. So let me bring up the email. Here it is. So Shall I be boring and read it to you? I suppose so. So I have an issue with your new release, and this was to Hornby, I sent this, of the 14XX in the railroad range. I'm not convinced that messaging you here will do any good, since I'm yet to receive a satisfactory response from you with regard to my previous concerns from over a year ago. And I should point out that, as you know, I've had several problems with locos in the past, and early on I would message Hornby about them just to see if there was anything they could do. But they did get back to one asking what was the problem with your, which product number was the tender that was broken on this Star class. And I sent them a message back saying, giving them the product number, and that's all I heard back. And in fact, that's all I've ever heard back from them. So that's the reason I made that comment. So I had the model pre-ordered from Rails of Sheffield, as you know, which was over a week late because they had to return the entire batch to you for repairs to the pickups. I have now received the model and was disappointed to find, as you saw just now, that its pulling capabilities were atrocious. Where previous versions of the model had a sprung rear axle, this does not. As a result, the rear driving wheels do not make contact with the track, leaving only the front two driving wheels to do the work, which again I've just demonstrated. This also renders the traction tyres useless, which is a good point. What was the point of the traction tyres if they don't touch the track? If you would like an illustrative example of the problem, I have posted images to both my Facebook and Twitter pages, which are at Sam'sTrains. I can't imagine what can be done to fix the problem short of a complete redesign, but I would like to hear what can be done to make this purchase and others like it less of a disappointment. So yeah, as you can see, I've honestly outlined the issues, and I've proved to you that that is a problem. As you can see, this one is sprung and this one isn't, and the proof is in the pudding. 6 coaches, 1 coach. So this was the response, and I've had to blur out the chap's name because it wouldn't be fair to say his name live. So he just put, "Hello, thank you for the email. I've passed your comments and concerns on to the Hornby development team. As you rightly say in your email, without a redesign of the rear of the locomotive, this issue would not improve. Please be assured that all comments and suggestions received from our customers are recorded and will be reviewed by the team responsible for the brand." So effectively what the chap said there is that, yeah, you're right. There's nothing we could do about it. It needs a redesign, and it's had a redesign. We know that it's had a redesign because this old version worked. It's been redesigned, in my opinion, to be cheap and nasty. It's got square bearings. It's not got the spring in it anymore, which sure, I suppose, brings down the production costs. But was it worth it if the engine doesn't run anymore? So I thought, I'm not too happy about that. I'm not too convinced by that. So I went back and I said, many thanks for the response. This is at the bottom now. I'm glad you agree with me. I also own 2 other 14XX models though. One is the original Airfix model and the other is Hornby's later re-release of the same model, which had been mechanically redesigned to include several improvements on the original Airfix design. And those improvements were the pickups and, as I say, the sprung rear wheel. One such improvement was the inclusion of the sprung rear axle, and thus the model is able to haul a significant number of coaches. Having produced a better 14XX model in the past then, I am wondering why your latest release has this particular improvement reverted. I'd be obliged if you could explain why this counter-production decision was made, and why the model was still shipped regardless of its blatant inadequacies. You like that? Blatant inadequacies? I think there's a bit more yet. So then I put, I'm scheduled to review this new model in front of a live YouTube audience, that's you guys, on Friday. And rather than simply assuming that this was done to cut costs regardless of the consequences, as it appears, I would like to have a more accurate explanation to convey. And actually I have had another response on that. Basically he said the entire team are down at Worley, so shout out to Worley, the big model railway exhibition, and they're busy down there, so they're not going to have time to, they're probably not going to get back to you for Friday. So I suppose basically what that means is they're more interested in promoting their future releases rather than clearing up the messes caused by their current releases, but such is life, I suppose. So effectively I'm still yet to hear the reason why, and I will be interested to hear the reason why, because it just seems pretty counterproductive, and if it wasn't done to save costs, I don't know why it was done. I really don't know. So actually a chap called Danny got in touch with me today, and I hope he doesn't mind me I hope he doesn't mind me contacting him, because talking about him, because I've been saying Hornby really need to recall these. They run so badly and they've got such issues. And this one's been back to Hornby once and it still doesn't run. Goodness knows what the ones are like which haven't been back to Hornby. So yeah, they should really have recalled them. And this chap Danny got in touch to say he's asked Hornby for a refund. I don't think I could rightly do that because I bought mine from Rails of Sheffield, but Hornby actually to start with said no, you can't have a refund, but we will give you credit, which I assume means you'll have £45 to spend on our website on something else. And he had to actually, it says here, he had to quote the Consumer Rights Act in 2015 before they would even give him a refund. So yeah, not a lot of goodwill there. So, you know, it seems a little bit bizarre that these would be done, and I assume it has to be to cut costs and improve profits, regardless of the regardless of the consequence. But you know, I would have said that's bad business skills. I mean, I don't know a lot about businesses. I mean, I've done a little bit, and in the small time that I've been running a small business with customers sending in models for me to repair, a really basic thing I've learned is that you've got to offer a good quality product for a decent price, and if you can't offer that, then you're not doing it right. It doesn't matter about stocks and shares and graphs and everything else. If you can't do the fundamentals, then why are you running a business? You know, that's the thing. And it seems that with this and some others like it, I mean, you can all name engines, I'm sure, where you felt that the build quality has just been dreadful. And this isn't, by the way, this isn't really a build quality issue. This is a design issue. So it's not something we can trace back to China and saying, oh, it's, you know, it's this and that. Mass production, you know, has a lot of problems. That's a design issue. That's not something that they've decided to do in the factory. But this is what I think. You know, they're in a lot of financial trouble at the moment, Hornby are, which is sad because, as I say, they're a company that I care about. They're a company that I love. I will admit, I love Hornby and I don't want to see them go. But, you know, if they're producing models like this and selling them and not recalling them and thinking that this is okay for children and, you know, anybody who enjoys the hobby and wants to support Hornby, if this is the way they're treated, then honestly, it sounds terrible to say it, but I can believe that they're in financial trouble. And I would be shocked to hear if anyone is, you know, that people say I'm surprised that they're in such dire straits. But I'm not surprised. I mean, it can't come as a surprise. And there have been lots of problems with models recently. The 72XX was so expensive, it weighed next to nothing and it had next to no detail. The P2, cheap 3-pole motors. My Henry model, all the tender wheels came off straight out the box. I had to glue them all back on. The West Country class, the body dropped off when I got it out the packaging. The Q6, it made that awful noise when I tried to run it and it couldn't pull even a medium-sized freight train. The H-class couldn't get over my points because the pickups weren't adjusted properly. The Terrier I bought just 6 months ago blew up and the motor went up in smoke and flames. You'll hear about that later on. And then of course that Schools class I had, which just completely fell apart. And yes, I buy a lot of models and I suppose it's to be expected to get quality issues, but I seem to be unlucky, put it that way. Anyway, what are we going to talk about next? So yeah, now I realise it sounds like I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet, and I suppose I have. But like I say, it's a company I care about, and I almost take it personally to find that, you know, this is being done, and you know, it's damaging them and it's damaging the hobby. I don't know who's profiting from this. It's certainly not Hornby. Anyway, so what I thought I would do is a little experiment. So this of course cost £45 from Hornby, maybe a little bit less if you got it from somewhere else like I did, but it's around the £40 mark, okay? Now, I would say that is a really good price for a model. I think that's a good price for a model. When they cost, you know, £200 and above, that's a pretty good price for a model. £40 or something. I mean, yes, it doesn't run properly, don't get me wrong, but I think generally that's not an unreasonable asking price. So I thought, well, let's see, is it a good price? And then when I was thinking about it, I thought, it's tiny, it's about the size of my hand, it can't pull very much, in fact it can barely pull anything at all. Is that really a good price? So I decided I would do a little experiment. I decided I would forget everything I know and just go online, go shopping and see what you can pick up for £40. So here we go, I'm going to introduce a white screen to you. Now, of course, it's been Black Friday, so this doesn't count, you can't look at Black Friday offers, but I wanted to see what you can get for £45 or less. So here is the Amazon Echo Dot. This is £35, so £10 cheaper than the RRP. And that's basically a device that you put in your home. It's voice activated, you can ask it any question you like and it'll answer it. It can control your lights, it can control your heating, it can play you music in your playlist, it can do loads of different stuff. and it's £10 cheaper than the 14XX. This is a helicopter, and I've got one of those. This was from Hawkins Bazaar, and this is being sold for £40, and it's not one of the small ones, it's one of those really big sort of foot-long ones. They're really, really good. I like them. £40, £5 cheaper. Next up, a remote control car. This was also at Hawkins Bazaar for £25, and look at all the paintwork on that, by the way. Look at the moulded detail, the paintwork. £25, so, you know, more or less half the price. Gaming mouse and keyboard, the pair of those are £32 between them. That's a Logitech mouse, and it's also, the keyboard has got massively high ratings on Amazon, which is good, of course. And then we have this is a £45, so the same price. Toshiba hard drive, which is, you know, you store stuff on it. It's 1 terabyte for the same price as the 14XX. And here's one, a cheeseburger from you know where. You can get 45 of those for the price of one Hornby 14XX. Just think about how many people you could feed with that. And then finally, of course, you can get the 14XX. Now, there is something to say here, okay? All of those things I showed you, apart from the 14XX, are mass-produced items. They are produced, you know, maybe if Hornby produced 1,000 of these, those helicopters would be produced in the tens of thousands. And thank you very much, Jake Darling, for your donation. That's very kind of you. So yes, most of those items I showed you were mass produced. So let's just take a look here. No, not that one. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, I think all of those really are going to be mass produced. And so obviously manufacturers can spread the cost over multiple different, you know, sales. There's hundreds of these things sold. But the thing is, right, as an average customer, which is me and you, it really doesn't work like that. We don't think, oh, well, the production costs, it costs £10,000 to get the injection molded tooling. It's all the marketing, shipping. We don't really think about that. And certainly children with parents or pensioners who are just a casual interest in the hobby, they don't think of things as being, you know, so much goes into production costs, so much goes into marketing. This is how much the tooling costs. This is how much the research and development cost. All they see really when they go online is this, a range of choices. This is what £25 will get me. This is what £45 will get me. And then sitting there is the 14XX, which doesn't work properly. It's got square bearings. It'll pull one coach, and it's a very small and basic model. Now, of course, yes, to a customer, you're just going to think, what is better value for money? Oh, I'll get the helicopter. It works, and those helicopters are really good. I've had hours of fun out of them. It's about value for money. It's about perceived value for money, I would say. And that's something that really is the key. It doesn't matter about the production cost. It doesn't matter how Hornby justify these prices. And it's not just Hornby. Other manufacturers do it as well, but I don't remember ever having this from Bachmann or anything. So this time I'm talking about Hornby, but it's not just Hornby. So that's my argument there. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about it before we get these running. Here we go. Are you going to unbox the Lima one? There isn't a Lima version of this, is there? There was a Lima Great Western engine, but I don't think it was a 14XX. 45 cheeseburgers. I know, imagine that, 45 cheeseburgers. It's good value though, I mean, imagine that. I mean, it probably wouldn't do you any good, would it, to be honest, but yeah. Can you do a review on the 45 burgers? Well, I think they would certainly run very well, wouldn't they? People are up early in the morning, it says. It's 5:43 here apparently. Yes, that's true, but it's 2 in the morning where some people are. So anyway, hopefully you get my point there. Yes, I know the prices are all different in different places, and you know, production costs are complex, but not to customers. Customers don't have any perception of that. So let's get these things running then. We've got just the one coach, as you can see. That's a Trian Great Western coach. I'm really hoping it's going to make it up Gordon's Hill with that. It should do. In fact, I'm sure it will. It does. It's pulled one coach, I'm pretty sure. We'll keep the 6 coaches with my Hornby version just to sort of prove a price. Prove a price? Prove a point. And by the way, this Hornby version cost me second hand. It cost me the same price as this Railroad one, except it came with the 2 Hornby Auto coaches. So yeah, good value there. As you can see, there we go then. There is the new Railroad version with its Great Western coach, hauling that just fine. Then we've got my Hornby version, the older Hornby version, which hopefully will get up Gordon's Hill with those. And I've just started the Airfix version, which you will see go past. So let's switch straight to Gordon's Hill. and see what's going on here. I've just seen that Andrew Keeley has sent me a $5 donation, so thank you so much. That really is very generous of you. And as you can see, the Hornby version is pulling at 6 coaches quite nicely, and the railroad one slowed down right there on that curve, didn't it? I did notice that. Blimey. Right, let's have a quick look. Let's go with the Mobius cam. Got to wave. As you can see, it's just, it's day and night, isn't it, the difference between the two. And I've actually noticed that the Airfix version is going backwards, so I better go and fix that, because actually they're all going in the same direction right now. So let's send it back forwards. And although the Airfix version is a little bit on the noisy side, it does run very nicely, as you can tell. And there we go, there's the railroad one. It does look nice with one coach, and of course realistically they could only pull one coach, but it would be okay, if it was designed to just pull the one coach, that would be okay. But it hasn't been designed to pull just one coach. It's got traction tyres which don't touch the track, which to me says that it's a design problem. Can you shout me out, Sam, says the Diamond Spinosaurus. Did I say that right? Yes, I can, there you go. Harry Todd Hunter says, I don't think it's fair to say Hornby is terrible just because of one model. Bachmann has made bad models, but no one says they're bad on the whole because of them. Well, hopefully you'll understand how that is kind of invalidated, because a few minutes ago I did give a massive list of problems that I've had on locos from this year alone. So this is not, I'm not having a rant about the one loco, I want you to sort of get that. I'm not ranting about just the one loco. It's this loco I'm talking about right now, but this is how it's been in general. We've had a lot of quality issues recently, and my goodness, that wheel slip was bad. But this is a good example, and it's one that that's one that I'm talking about right now. But it's not just the 14XX. I wouldn't be having this rant if Hornby made great models, generally. SDJR7F88 says that 14XX can certainly haul. It definitely can. It's great. And Mr. Fox 111 says review your tractor. That's a good idea. And Kata CFR1 says I want a shout out too. So there you go. There's a shout out. The Railroad 14XX is just going past the church cam again. So let's take a quick look at the rating and ranking, shall we? So I've put details 7 out of 10. Yes, I think the detail's fairly good with this, to be honest, but the performance really isn't. I've given it 3 out of 10. For the reasons you've seen, it just it doesn't cut it. Character though, 9 out of 10. I've always loved the 14XX, and this one really is nice, as you can tell. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Build quality, 7 out of 10. I'm being generous there because I've already deducted a massive amount of points from the performance. The build quality, as you saw on the body, was fair, I must say, but value, 6 out of 10, even though it was a relatively cheap model by modern standards. It's still not great because it doesn't work properly. So 6 out of 10, 6.55 out of 10 then, and let's put her into the rankings. 6.55, oh dear, 77th. So second to bottom, just above the 72XX and below the Ren R1. So there you have it then. That's my review of the 14XX. It looks beautiful, but what are you doing there? Get away. But it doesn't cut it, to be honest. It doesn't cut it for me. Let me know what you think. I'm going to talk about this in quite a bit of detail in a second. So do let me know what you think. Trying is better than Hornby, says the O2 Kim. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I've never had serious issues with a trying model, I must admit. Right, let's get these engines a little break, shall we? Jacob Johnson says Hornby's quality control is not very good at the moment. No, I think that's fair to say. I think what cheesed me off the most is that Hornby have had these back. The railroad one has been returned to Hornby by Rails of Sheffield, and so it's been looked at, it's been worked on and then sent back, and still doesn't run properly, which is pretty bad. So I'm waiting back to hear on that. I don't know what the deal is with it, but we'll see. But overall, it's not terrible. It just needs to be better, really, doesn't it? So let's bring it to a stop. And those square bearings, it's just insane. But that's the thing. I mean, the whole £45 business, it seems cheap, but when you look at it compared to those other things I showed you, it really isn't cheap. And that's it. With Hornby's prices going up towards £200 now with some models, the Princess Coronation, for example, that makes locos like this look super cheap when really they're not. It's these high prices have been normalised, but I think we should still pinch ourselves and say, you know, we can get a lot better for that than with our money. And so regardless of the different production costs, the fact that we can do better elsewhere is always true, and that isn't changed. So yeah, let's have a look at this. Mr. George says, considering this is a stream, it's very high quality. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because the first couple of streams were terrible quality. I had a lot of problems with the router and the broadband. It wasn't going too good, to be honest, but I think it's okay now. Is the audio synced and everything okay? Mayo Hosco says, hello, President. I hope there's no president watching. Steak and Cake says, shout me out, please. So that's a good one. Thanks for that. I have lots of Triang models, says Juna Vidiot. That's good to hear. There's no way in hell it cost them over 30 quid to produce these per unit. Yeah, no way. It's going to be a lot less. I don't know I'd love to know what the actual trade cost and production cost of this would be. I think that would tell us quite a lot actually about the profit margins, but I don't expect that they'll be telling us that kind of thing. The Diamond Spinosaurus says, Sam, you're my favourite YouTuber. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I don't really know that I deserve that. There are a lot of brilliant people out there, but thanks so much. Okay, I think we'll take a break then. It's obviously been a massive ramble. It's going to be a slightly longer stream today. If you guys are okay with that, then I'm certainly okay with that. So I'm going to double check and see if there's been any super chats. I know we've had a couple already, but I don't want to be missing them. So after the break, I'm going to be talking a little bit about snups. I know you guys have been carrying on with snups, so I'm going to be showing some more of your collections on snups. So that's going to be good, so stick around for that. I'm also going to be making a big announcement about one of next week's videos, which is going to be super exciting, so hopefully you guys are going to take that well. The super chats so far this week have been Michael Aldred, Jake Darling and Andrew Keeley. Thanks so much for that. And Jake Darling wants to see the Backman Manor class filled with a rake of blood and custard coaches. So thanks for that, Jake. That's fantastic. I'll either do that this week or I'll do it next week, depending on how much time I get. I'm running over a little bit now, so it might be next week, but if I get loads more today, I'll have to do some. But thanks for that, Jake, and it will get done, don't you worry. Okay, I think that's all I've got to say, so we'll take a little break. Let me know if you're happy for this to go over the hour, and it absolutely will. But for now then, let's take a little break. I'll be right back soon. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in a second. Now I've got to find the back soon. Oh, here we go. You ready for the music? You're going to like this. Here we go. Okay, folks, well, I thought there was no sense in delaying the break, so might as well come back. I'm feeling good, so hopefully you're as well. I'm sorry if it's been a little bit of a sort of down-toned video. I know I've been quite critical, but, you know, let me know. Am I right? Am I wrong? Please tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to be told that I'm wrong, and in fact, people seem not to like telling me that I'm wrong, whereas I actually quite like it. It's supposed to be a place for discussion, so if I'm wrong, tell me. I don't like to be the guy dictating what's right. If there's something I've missed, or if you just think I'm being too harsh in general, please let me know. I think it's really important we discuss these things. I'm not a dictator in any way. Okay, let's talk about the Wall of Fame. I've got quite a lot of Wall of Fame entries from last week, from this week I should say, but there was some food trains that I forgot to show, so very quickly, we've got Henry next to a train cake from Damien. How cool is that? I just thought it was funny. It's not a food train in any way, it's just Henry next to a cake. I've got a funny sense of humour like that. This one was cool. We've got an egg train from Philip P, and I'm glad I'm not missing this one. So he's literally got a pannier tank with some some wagons and eggs balanced on the top. So that's pretty original, I think you've got to agree. And then we've got this one. This one's from Michael A, and again, that's some unusual wagons on there. I think the only one I recognise is the Bird's Eye, presumably fish fingers or something like that. So that's pretty cool. They were the food train ones, which I forgot to print last week. But now I've got some Wall of Fame stuff, and I'm going to do a Q&A as soon as I've finished showing these. So if you've got any questions for me, save them until I'm on the last one. I'll say last one, and then let rip with your questions, and I'll be answering them. So the Ugly Duck Man sent these in. Oh, sorry about that. I've never coughed in your ears before like that. It's because I've got a bit of a cold. My voice is still recovering, and I've got a bit of a tickle in my throat. But that's a DMU. I like it very much, and these are going up on the Wall of Fame. We've got Josh, who did an amazing close-up of one of the diesels. 10 points to anyone who knows which diesel that is. I'll take a guess. It's going to be wrong. I'll take a guess that it's class 31. There we go. You'll tell me I'm wrong. You see, that's an opportunity to tell me I'm wrong. Hull class from James R. It starts with 49. Can't tell what hull class it is, but very, very nice nonetheless. We've got this one. This is, it looks like an American train of some sort from Jan T. An 060 it looks like. Very nice with some coaches, looks like. Very nice. Then we've got George D, who's got one of his layout set up, and blimey, you know, I've never seen as much rolling stock as that crammed onto a Hornby. I've just seen a super chat. It distracted me. Onto a Hornby track layout. That's amazing. Look how many coaches, and I can see all kinds on there. Wow. Great use of a tiny space there. So thanks so much to War Hero, who sent me $10. Thank you very much. You really are the guys keeping me going. So thank you ever so much. That is really kind of you. This is cool. This is Alexander on a miniature railway, and look at the size of this model sort of diesel. That's amazing, isn't it? What diesel is it? Class 67, I think. Alexander, look at that, how cool. That's exactly the kind of thing I love to see. That's so cool. Now this one is cool. David B sent this. I thought it was an M7, but I don't think it is. I think this might be a kit built one, but just look at the detail on that. Now if Hornby built one of those, I would buy it and I wouldn't complain about it, because that's beautiful. It might be an M7, I don't think it is though. This one's Kenny B, a little shunter, little black shunter, number 7051 from the LMS. I love that one. So it's nice that we've got some sort of pre-nationalisation liveries about there. And this is the last one, so get your questions in. This one was from Phil, and he's inside what looks like a Deltic, or I don't know, a 37 or something, I don't know. But there, I suppose that must be him in the cab there. So that's very cool. Thank you for those. That was absolutely awesome. I'll just have a drink of water, and then I'll get to some Q&As. We've got Matthew Harris, who sent £5. Thank you very much, Matthew. That's very good of you. If you've got a request, Matthew, come volunteer with us at the West Somerset Railway, Sam. More reason to review that 7F. So I will review that 7F, and if I remember, I will mention you when I do it. Okay, let's have a look. It's an O2, by the way, Sam, says Lucas, so thanks for that. I'll try and remember that. I'm not very good at remembering classes, though. I can remember steam loco classes, but seemingly I can't remember anything else. Hey, Sam, race you to 15,000 subscribers. Okay. You know, 15,000 subscribers sounds ridiculous for a train channel, doesn't it? I can't believe it, to be honest. But, yeah, you guys have done it, not me. So I got to, thank you, is all I can say. I'm nothing. People like, you all flock to these streams like there's something special about me. I've not done a thing. It's you guys. It's you guys that have done it. Do you know some USA model train builders? Yeah, I know a few. Bachmann. There's a few, isn't there? Athern is a good one. Was it Roco? There's a few. I've serviced a few, in fact, so that's cool. Is this your full-time job, says AG Pepper? It's YouTube is probably half of it, and my servicing repair service is the other half. But yes, I am in trains for a full-time job, which again is why I'm so invested in Hornby doing well, and it's why it annoys me so much when when they do things not so well. Can you unbox the Lima electric model that you promised last week? Yes, I've got to do that. If you want me to, I'll do it on stream, and it will literally be my first ever look at it, because I've still not had it out the packaging. So if it dies when I first put it on the track, it will happen live, and I think that's quite exciting, so I might do it like that. When are you going to get your trains off the carpet, Sam? That's a question I get all the time. Why am I on the carpet? Well, I wasn't serious when I first put this on the carpet, but my YouTube channel has sort of done so well, I don't want to take it off the carpet, and here's the reason. There are hundreds of layouts on YouTube which show baseboards and amazing layouts, right? But that isn't in reach of everybody. It's not in reach of children, and children is something, I go in and volunteer quite a lot at the local school. I work quite a lot with children, and they're kind of a passion of mine, just to give them a good time, if you know what I mean, just to entertain them. And so showing a big train set like mine on the carpet, I mean, look at this. This is on the carpet. It shows what can be done. Obviously, you're not going to want to do this in your living room. but it shows that you don't have to, you don't have to have a degree in carpentry. You don't have to spend all that money. You can literally stick your track on the carpet, and I prove every day that there's no problem with that. I've got 300 odd engines, and they all run on the carpet year in, year out, and as long as you take good care of them, there isn't a problem. If you've got a big fluffy carpet and you've got a dog, then okay, yeah, you don't want to be doing it. But for me, I've never had a problem. What was the worst loco you've ever had to service? I don't like the big boys. I've done a few big boys and they're just not nice. They don't seem to have very many pickups. I've done the older big boys. Modern ones I don't know. But yeah, they seem to really struggle. My layout obviously isn't built for a big boy, but yes, they have a couple of pickups on each side and that's it. They're not fun to service and they take a very long time. Have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with another model train YouTuber, says Erin Ferguson? Yes, I have done. I did one with old Callum from SDJR7F88 speaking. And that was fun. That was a layout to layout service, and you can find videos from that on both of our channels, so feel free to check that out. Hi Laserjet, said Dreamlover90. Yeah, hi Laserjet. Thank you for popping in, and he's put okay. I bought my Terrier for £55, says Harry Todd Hunter. Yeah, I think mine was similar sort of price. I can't remember. It was either Hattons or Rails of Sheffield. It blew up, so it wasn't a great bargain after all, but I've managed to get a new motor for it, and you'll find out about that in some various videos I've got coming up over the next month. Okay, when's the important announcement? Okay, well, we'll get to that. That's going to be fun. I can't wait. I wanted to announce this on a live stream. It's not a big deal, by the way, but it's a big deal to me. It represents a couple of weeks' work. So I'm going to get to that very soon. First of all, though, let's have a look at old Snupsy. Here it is. Let's have a quick look at who else has followed me. I've got 130 followers. Blimey. That's gone up a bit since last week. So let's have a look at Michael Aldred, because he gave me a super chat, I think, didn't he? So let's take a look. This caught my eye. Maintenance yard. I do like seeing locos that need maintenance. So that's, oh dear, city that needs its valve gear rebuilding, it looks like. We've got a 37, needs a new chassis, it says. Oh, that's an old one. A 3-rail Bristol Castle tender, am I? I am on the screen, aren't I? Yeah. So that's cool. Thank you for following me on there, Michael. Charles Curtis has got 13 shelves. Gosh, you've been busy. Oh, and he's got American trains. Let's see, MTH. Wow, look at these. Wow, that's lovely. I used to have one like that called Jupiter, but it gave up the ghost, unfortunately. But yeah, that one's lovely. Oh, that's nice as well. That looks like the Daylight, but something about it doesn't look like it. I don't know. 1997 it says, MTH. Well, look. Oh, it is Southern Pacific Daylight Special. Yeah, cool. Let's have a couple more. Steve Boy has got one shelf. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at his steam engines. Oh, it said he only got one shelf. Oh, look at these. Oh, these are Hornby's best. The A4s, how lovely. He's got the Flying Scotsman there, looks very lovely. And this one caught my eye. Oh, that's my favourite. In the early crest as well, the Q1. Oh, that's made me want to go and get a Q1 now in the early crest. Steve, it's your fault. The P2. Oh yes, I do like the P2. Let's wow that one as well. Right, shall we do two more then? I know loads of people have asked me to do it, but obviously I can't do everybody, which isn't great, but we'll try. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's have a look at Derek Palethorpe. And it would be awful. Oh, I can see another Q1. Let's look at it. It would be awful if I showed the same person twice, but you know, I can't. I'm just sort of doing it randomly. Oh, so that's another Q1. This time in the late crest, you can see. I'll wow it. I'm going to wow every Q1 I see. You must know that. That's very cool. Yeah, nice to see people are cataloguing these. Let's do one more then. Who did I not look at yet? It'll be one that I'm not following. I'm just looking for people who have actually got shelves. Shall I go back up? Because there was more at the top. Who's got shelves? Godisnes. Sorry, I can't pronounce people's names very well. People know this. So there's an HST 125 in quite a nice grey livery there, like that. Mallard always deserves a wow. Gotta love Mallard, haven't you? The Lima King class, not a model I've ever owned, but obviously there it is. So that's the King. That's a Trying Albert Hall. Of course, we've all seen those. Bachmann Hogwarts Express. I don't think I've ever seen one of those in the flesh, and a Triang Lord of the Isles. So that's it for Snups this week. if you're interested in snups, sign up and you can see what people have done on here, cataloguing their collections, and hopefully you can do the same, and you know, you've got a small chance of having me take a look during one of the streams. Okay, let's talk about what's coming up next week then, and I feel like I might have hyped up this announcement a little bit too much, but we'll talk about it. Okay. So the minor announcements first. So tomorrow I'm going to do a bit of Great Western action, which is quite fitting because we've done the 14XX today. So some Great Western action then. And then on Monday I'm going to do another Express video, another Diesel Express video, because I like to show diesels from time to time and I haven't done recently, so more of that. And then the special one, which is coming on Wednesday. And this is something that people have asked me for, in fact, very often. In fact, people get onto me about this all the time. It's something that I've always thought others could do better than me, so I've never wanted to try it before, but I've decided I'm going to. It basically took a whole working week, 7 days, 12 hours a day. It was a lot of work, and in fact, I'm not going to really say anything about what it is, but I thought I could show you an image. I'm going to show you the thumbnail. So let me get rid of this. Oh no, not that. Get rid of that. So I'm going to show you the thumbnail, okay? So this is what's going to appear on the name of the video, and you can take what you want from it. So there we go. Hopefully you guys will, it's called Snups, Mr. Quinn's Extras, it's called Snups. Hopefully you will get the gist about, what this is going to be about, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it. It's only a small project, it's not very long at all, but it's been the most heavily produced video I think I've ever made. I've never made a video which has taken me so long to produce. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy it. I don't know how it's going to go down because I'm not an expert on these things, but it is my first little Thomas and Friends story. So yeah, see how you like it. So I'm going to see what people think about that. I don't know if people are going to be cross with me for trying something that I'm obviously not qualified to do, but it is exciting and I've showed it to a few people and they've said it's good, so hopefully you guys will think the same as well. So Mark Corner waits for the groans. Yeah, absolutely, there's going to be some groans, but it's only one video. It's not very often that I make Thomas and Friends videos, so let's see. Yay, it's a special, said that this train terminates there. Yes, well, hopefully it will be a special. I'm a little bit, I suppose I'm more nervous about putting that out than I've ever been, but hopefully, as I say, you'll enjoy it and it'll be good. Draw With Me, a drawing channel. Is that a movie? Yeah, it's a bit like a movie. It's more like just a 5-minute special episode. It should be fun. Derpy Fire Alarm says turntable. Yes. There is you'll see. It's actually a 2-part video. There we go. I'll give you a little bit of a clue on there. The Saturday's video will be also related to it, but I'm not going to give any more away on that. It's going to be funny, says Alexander. Yeah, hopefully it will be funny. If people don't find it funny, I might be in trouble, but oh well. Not much of a Thomas fan, but I like it a lot, says Rowan Collins. Thank you. Hopefully you will. Look forward to it. Hope you do more. Carol the Dalek. I'd love to do more, but to be honest, it was a lot of work, and I wasn't expecting it to be, but it just kind of grew, and it became quite a lot of work. So do whatever feels good for you, my friend, says Laserjet. It did feel good. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. But it was a lot of work, that's the truth. Advent countdown, yes, that's true, Advent is coming soon, so send me some pictures of your Advent calendars if you want. In fact, do that when December starts and I'll have a look at some. Happy Black 5 Day, Sam. I thought it said Black Friday, but no, Black 5 Day. If only it was Black 5 Day, that would be a good one. Coming out of your comfort zone, good on you, you're doing a great job, Sam, said Michael Alfred. Yeah, it is nerve-wracking because, of course, Thomas and Friends has a massive fan base, and I suppose you could easily annoy them. But hey, if the video annoys you when it comes out, just know that it wasn't intended to. It was just intended for a bit of fun, but I'm hoping it won't annoy people. So that's that. Let's just go through the super chats once more and just thank everybody who's done it. I have got a couple of requests, and I'll do those first time. next time. So, yep, I've already talked about these guys, but I'll say it again. So, Michael Alfred, Aldred, sorry, not Alfred, Jake Darling, Andrew Keeley, War Hero, Sam Davis, and Matthew Harris. Thank you ever so much, all of you, for your donations. It really does go a long way to help me, keep making reviews, keep coming back on these streams, and I really hope you enjoy it, and I hope you find it worth it. So, thank you all very much. I think that's just going to about do it for today, and of course, look out for those videos coming out over the week, and I really hope you enjoy Wednesdays. Again, let me know in the comments what you think about that, and if you've got any predictions as to what it might be about, get them in there. That should be fun. But I have gone on a little bit. It's 10 past 6 now, so that's just about it. Hope you enjoyed the review of the 14XX. Yes, I know I was quite critical, but hopefully you can see that I was justified in that. I did try not just to be biased against Hornby. I've got no reason to be, but I tried to be as fair as possible. But let's be honest, it's a shame that it got released in that state, because if it was different, it could have been a great model for the price, and not a bad price, let's be honest, compared to some of the others. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your support as always. I'll see you tomorrow with another Great Western themed video. Hopefully that will be fun. And once again, thank you for all your comments and support. You're the best, and you know that. Of course you know that. So thank you all very much. Lovely to have your company as always, and there's been so many of you tonight, so thanks for that. I'll see you back here next week for episode 5 of 7, so we're well and truly over halfway. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any tips or anything for me, anything you want me to do, anything you want me not to do, rant probably is one of those things, do let me know. But for now, thank you very much once again, everybody. I'm going to stop thanking you all now because I'm sounding like a broken record, but thanks again, and I'll see you soon. Thank you again. All right, bye everybody. Thank you. Stop saying thank you. I'll say goodbye. There we go. Cheers, everybody. Well, that is the end of today's stream, but if you would like to see some more of Sam's Trains live, don't forget to pop back next Friday at the same time, 5 PM UK time. And in the meantime, if you've got anything you'd like me to do during the next stream, or if you've got any topics you'd like me to discuss, please do let me have those before next week. But for now, thank you once again for your company, and I will see you all back here very, very soon.